Our next video, illustrating some of the grammatical usages of Greek in the book of Acts, we now turn to Acts 1, verse 2. All right. Let me just set the context here and do a translation of Acts 1 1. As we walk, the former book, O Theophilus, I made concerning all things which Jesus began both to do and to teach. Now the sentence continues with a relative clause here, until the day which, and we probably need to go down here and pick up the main verb, until the day which he was taken up. Then we go back and pick up a participle, after he had commanded the apostles whom he had chosen through the Holy Spirit. Actually, we're going to argue that the commanding is through the Holy Spirit, after he commanded through the Holy Spirit the apostles whom he had chosen. Now, let's look a little bit closer at the grammar of verse 2, which provides some interesting usages of the relative pronoun. We saw in our first study in Acts 1:1 the use of this relative pronoun attracted to its antecedent ponton. Now we have two more relative pronouns, until the day which, this relative pronoun, and the apostles whom he had chosen. And I mentioned that in 1:1 we have a not irregular but a different sort of use where the relative pronoun is attracted to the case of its antecedent. Now in Acts 1:2 we have two other usages of the relative pronoun. How fascinating that within two verses Luke has three different usages of the relative pronoun. The one that we might call regular is this one right here, hus. It's in the accusative case because it is the object of exelexita, whom he had chosen. And its antecedent is the dative apostolos. And again, it is not necessary for the relative pronoun to agree in the case of its antecedent. It normally takes the case of the function of it plays in the relative clause, which here in hus is the direct object of exelexita. So that, you might say, is the normal or the to be expected use. But here we have another exceptional use, until the day which. Now, obviously, this is a relative pronoun that is referring, but notice it's referring to the later hemeros, genitive singular of day, that follows it. Normally, relative pronouns follow the antecedent, as they did here. This follows ponton, and of course, as we said, this follows apostolos, but here it precedes the noun that is its antecedent. But notice this is a special use of an internal headed relative clause, an internal relative clause. Now, the reason it's called internal is that the relative pronoun precedes it. Okay, so here we have three different usages of the relative pronoun. This is good grammar in Acts 1 and 2. Now, Cooley suggests, well, why is this internally headed? He suggests that this may be for emphasis, and he suggests the translation, until the very day. Until the very day that he was taken up. So, fascinating usages of the relative pronoun. Now, let's go to the main verb, and let's remind ourselves of the parsings here. in Acts 1:2. We've already seen exalexita, the aorist middle indicative, and notice the middle here, I think for a reason. The author is more involved in the middle in voice, and so we may even say that he chose for himself. He chose for himself these apostles. And of course, the verb here, the main verb of the sentence, aorist passive indicative from ana lambano. Now let's go and look at the participle here. Entelamenos, the aorist middle participle from entelemai. Now let's go back and look at it until the day which, moving down here to the verb, he was taken up. And then we go to entelamenos, an aorist participle, which is undoubtedly temporal, as so many participles are. So before he was taken up, this is an action prior to the main verb. After he had commanded the apostles, and notice the dative here, this verb oftentimes takes the dative of the people commanded, but the thing commanded is often in the accusative for entelemai. So again, the people commanded is in the dative, but when it has the thing that the person commanded, it's in the accusative. Now, the question is, and let's change colors here to point this out, this expression here, this expression through the Holy Spirit, does it go with that he chose them through the Holy Spirit, or he commanded them through the Holy Spirit? Because this prepositional phrase, dia pneumatos hagio, is outside the relative clause in front of it, this undoubtedly refers back to how Jesus commanded the apostles through the Holy Spirit. So this is some of the grammar of Acts 1:2. Let's again go back and review it. Until which day he was taken up, until the day which he was taken up, after he commanded the apostles through the Holy Spirit whom he had chosen. Or a better order is after he commanded the apostles whom he had chosen through the Holy Spirit. So now let's do one more thing, just a couple of minutes here on something special about Acts 1:2. Just a brief word about text criticism. There's a special manuscript that dates from the 400s called Codex Beza, and it has a variant reading here. Let's look at this. It may take you a while to get used to this, but this is what it says. We have the transcription down here to help you and the breaking up of the words. So let's look at it until, notice how Codex Beza moves on a lengthane up here, and this is where it is, on the lengthay, until he was taken up, after he commanded the apostles through the Holy Spirit. Now notice here we have the special use of a nomina sacra, an abbreviation of spirit here. And here we have it down here with an overstrike above it, an overline. Oftentimes sacred names were abbreviated. So through the Holy Spirit whom he had chosen. But now notice this addition. I've underlined it in red here. Kai ekeluse kerusein ta evangelion. And you can see it a little bit clearer down here in the transcription. So Codex Beza has taken the anelemphe from the end of the verse and stuck it back up here, so that it says he was taken up after he commanded the apostles whom he had chosen and he commanded them to preach the gospel. This is a unique reading, singular to Codex Beza, and has no real solid historical existence. Okay, that gets us back to Acts 1:2, and we'll see you in the next video as we look at Acts 1:3.